Hello students, good morning. This is the second part of lesson number 4, The Enemy, written by Paul S. Buck. As we have discussed about Sadao, Hannah, their study in America, how they met with an American prisoner, an enemy, how they decided to took him to their house and to provide first aid. The next part of the story is, now they decided to wash the enemy soldier first. Hannah said that Yomi, the servant, the governess, will wash the enemy soldier, but she refused to do so. Then Hannah herself started washing the white man. She kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. In the meantime, Sadao came in with his surgeon's emergency bag. "Help! You have decided to operate," she cried. "Yes," he said. "He will die unless he is operated on." "Help me to turn him," he commanded her. She obeyed him without a word, and he began to wash the man's back carefully. While Sadao performed the operation, she said, "Don't try to save him, but if he should live, but if he should die," Sadao replied. He stood gazing. Sadao asked Hannah to give anesthetic to the enemy soldier. While she was looking at the man's face, she observed deep red scars on his neck, just under the ear. It showed that the man had been tortured badly. Hannah was reminded of the Japanese general Takima, who at home used to beat his wife cruelly. If a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to a prisoner of war? She thought very carefully that how he was tortured in the prison and how he get that bound on his back. Now the Sadao felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard. It was dangerously near the kidney. Now he started probing with his fingers. He was familiar with every atom of the human body, as I have discussed earlier, that he was a famous surgeon of Japan. Then he quickly made a clean and precise incision, and the bullet was out. The man quivered, but he was still unconscious. As in the picture shown, that how Dr. Sadao operated the wounded man, and Hannah stood by his side as a patient watcher as well as companion in his operation. Now, by the next day, when the young man woke, he looked very weak and terrified. "What are you going to do with me?" he muttered. "I do not know myself what I shall do with you," said Sadao. "I ought to give you to the police. You are a prisoner of war." When the young man tried to speak, Sadao said, "Don't tell me anything. Don't even tell me your name unless I ask it." The young man closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. Outside, Hannah was waiting for Sadao. She said, "The servants feel they cannot stay if we hide this man here anymore. They say we have forgotten to think of our own country first. They think we are American because we lived there. That's why we took that particular enemy to their house. It is not true, said Sadao harshly. Americans are our enemies. But I have been trained not to let a man die if I can help it. Because, as I have told earlier about Dr. Sadao, that he was a trained surgeon, and it's doctor's prime duty to save the dying patient first, whether the particular person is enemy or friend or anyone else. That's the prime responsibility of a doctor, to save the dying person, to help him if he can. The servants can't understand that, said Hannah. Sadao continued to examine the young man's wound carefully every day. The last stitches had been pulled out. It seemed the young man would be nearly all right in a fortnight. Sadao went back to his office and carefully typed a letter to the chief of police reporting the whole matter. On the 21st day of February, an escaped prisoner of war washed to my doorstep. So far, he typed, and then he opened a secret drawer of his desk and put the unfinished letter into it. But in the meantime, the servants of his house left all the household things because of that particular enemy. Because they thought that Hannah and Sadao helped the enemy soldier, because they went to America, they studied over there, they lived over there, so their blood changed and they decided to help the Americans. They thought that Americans are friends, but in reality, Dr. Sadao was forced only due to his service as a doctor, as a duty as a doctor, because doctor's first duty is to save a dying patient in any condition, whether the particular person is an enemy, a friend, or his family member, or anyone else. That's the first duty of a doctor, to save the dying man first, to operate or to provide treatment to the dying patient. This is the second part of the video of the lesson. Later story we will discuss in third part.